Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to this installment of Open Mic, the show where the mic is open. The floor, as they would say, is yours. What do you guys want to talk about? That is what we are here to discuss. Good to have you guys here joining me today. My name, of course, is John Campea, and Open Mic is basically the show where, as the title kind of implies, we really just take the topics that you guys want to talk about, and that's what we're going to do here today. Thank you for joining me on this Sunday. I have had a busy weekend. I still haven't had a chance to go see Obsession, which is bugging me because Friday night we were busy, and then yesterday being Saturday, the first entire part of the day was dedicated to a big family function on Anne's side of the family. And so that's what we were doing all Saturday. And then last night, Saturday night, was a friend's birthday party, this big celebration. So couldn't do that. Also couldn't go see it earlier today. And the reason I haven't been able to go see it today is because Ann and I decided to go and check out the Ronald Reagan Presidential Library in Simi Valley, California. And I went to the Richard Nixon Presidential Library for an event, and she kind of became fascinated with it. So she went and visited, when she was in Boston recently, she went to go visit the John F. Kennedy Presidential Library. And then finding out we had another presidential library around us, we decided to go. And what I didn't realize at the Ronald Reagan Presidential Library and Museum, they had this. Unless you think that is just a model, it's not. That is Air Force One. Now, there's a new I think it was Barack Obama was the first president to use the newest, the 2800 Air Force One. So they upgraded Air Force One, I think, when Barack Obama was president. Maybe it was when George Bush was president. Anyway, but This is it. This is Air Force One that served, I think, 5 presidents. Like 5 or 6 presidents, including Ronald Reagan. And I gotta tell you guys, I'm a sucker for like being at historical places or something like that. And walking on, they let you actually go on the plane. I would recommend it. Everybody go, if you're in the California area, go to the Ronald Reagan Presidential Library. You actually get to go on Air Force One, and just the feeling of history you get when you walk on it, it's actually kind of crazy. And so Ann and I spent a couple of hours there and had a good time. And I literally just got home about a half hour ago. So that's why we were starting a few minutes late, because like I said, I just got home. Anyway, guys, we are here to talk about the topics you guys wanted to discuss today. So what we are going to do first, as we always do on Open Mic, I like to pick kind of one topic as an icebreaker, right? Just kind of a topic or an issue to kind of just get the ball rolling. And this one was easy for me because I've had a number of people write into me the last, couple of weeks, really. Ask me the simple question of, is anybody going to go watch Mandalorian and Grogu? And you guys know, for me, I think the best way to put it is pessimistic, right? I've been pessimistic about Mandalorian and Grogu, or at least had some concerns. Right from the beginning when they announced it, I was like, wait a minute, time out. We haven't had a Star Wars movie in theaters by the time this movie comes out in 7 years, practically 7 years. And you're telling me that the very first Star Wars movie we're going to have in 7 years in theaters is just a prolonged episode of the television show? That's what we're doing? Now, don't get me wrong. As you guys who watch the show regularly, I really like Mandalorian, the show. I do. I mean, season 3 notwithstanding, season 3 was not great. But even though season 3 wasn't great, that doesn't take away how great I thought the first 2 seasons were. I like The Mandalorian very much. And I love Jon Favreau. And I trust Jon Favreau. I completely do. But and I think a lot of you guys and a lot of other people were wondering, what's the point of this? And then the first couple of teasers and trailers they put out, I got to tell you, they did not move the needle for me. They truly did just look like extensions of the TV show. And not particularly good extensions of the TV show. At least that's how it looked to me. Then I think it was the latest trailer they put out that I'm like, all right, that actually looks okay. That doesn't look so bad. Now for me, the needle did start to move at CinemaCon back in April. They played for us the first 17 or 18 minutes of Mandalorian and Grogu. And I got to tell you, it was the best stuff I've seen from the movie yet. It was the best stuff I've seen from the movie yet. It actually was pretty good. No. It was better than that. The first 17 or 18 minutes was really enjoyable. I had a lot of fun with the opening 17 minutes of the movie. It felt like Star Wars. It was adventure, right? And at its core, that's what Star Wars is to me. Star Wars is an adventure story, or a series of adventure stories. And the opening of Mandalorian and Grogu absolutely fit the bill. Again, I'm not going to say it's the best opening to a movie. No. But I'm just saying it was really quite good. I'm like, okay, all right. I am now moving from, I'm going to go see it because it's Star Wars, but not much else, to, okay, I'm kind of looking forward to seeing this now. All right. Now fast forward a little bit. And the other day, the first reactions come out. Now, as of right now, the reviews are not out. As you can see, there's no reviews out left there. I think the review embargo lifts on Tuesday. I think either Monday or Tuesday. I can't remember exactly when. But the review embargo lifts in a couple of days. Or very soon. But we did get the first reactions from the movie. And you know what? The first reactions were, to me, on the higher end, I think, of what we could have hoped for. For the most part, and we went through the reactions that came out, for the most part, they were pretty positive. None of them saying, there was one that said, this is the best Star Wars I've ever seen on screen. Okay, that's fine, to each their own. But I mean, most of them were just like, yeah, this was actually pretty good. This was a really good Mandalorian Star Wars adventure. Not everybody loved it. Not everybody liked it. There were a couple of the reactions that we read on the show that were really quite negative and all kind of stuff. But I think it's fair to say that the positive reactions to it outweighed the negative. By a significant amount, actually. The positive outweighed the negative by a significant amount. Now, I know I know several people who saw it. One of the people I know who's already seen it was Christian Harloff. And I was texting back and forth with him the other night because he's going to come to our movie meetup in New York, but he told me he's going to skip out on the movie. He doesn't want to watch it again. And I think he put out an out-of-theater review mentioning that he didn't like the film that much. Being that as it may, so I know he didn't like it, and there are a couple of other people too, but I think it's fair to say, for the most part, the reactions were fairly positive. Now, the early tracking, I don't know where it's at right now, as we are only, we're 4 days away from this movie opening in theaters. 4 days away. For the first time in nearly 7 years, having a Star Wars movie on the big screen. So we're about 4 days away. I don't know what the tracking is at today, but the earlier tracking had it pegged at around the 80 to 85 million mark, which, if it comes in at that, it will be the lowest opening weekend for a Disney-era Star Wars film in theaters ever. The current lowest opening weekend is Solo, a Star Wars story, which, of course, is the only Star Wars movie ever to not make money. It's still a pretty good movie. I mean, listen, I will have that argument and debate with anybody happily, anytime. I think Solo, a Star Wars... I mean, I don't think they should have ever made the movie. I stand on that. They should have never made that movie. But they did make the movie, and I will debate anybody. I think it was an entertaining, fun space adventure film. I had a good time with it. I mean, nowhere near as good as Rogue One or anything like that, but, I had a good time with it. It was fun. But it was the lowest opening weekend out of anything so far that the Disney era Star Wars things had done. And Mandalorian and Grogu could come in under that, or it could come in just over that. Either way, it's going to be in the neighborhood of Solo. So the question that some people have been asking me this week has been, is anybody really interested in going to see it? Is anybody really interested in going to see it? And I would say this, despite my skepticism and my concern, the reality is, if this movie, say, does open to $85 million, what percentage of movies that open in theaters do you think opens to $85 million or more? Listen, I'll just answer that question for you. Not many. Not a lot of films open to $85 million or more. If it does open to $85 million, it's going to be one of the biggest opening weekends of the year so far. Not the biggest, but it's going to be up there amongst the biggest ones. I mean, maybe up to like 90 million, maybe 100 million. I don't know. So obviously there are going to be people that are going to want to go see it, but it's just weird, man. Like, I like Mandalorian, and I saw the first 17 minutes, and I quite enjoyed the first 17 minutes. And it's Jon Favreau directing it, and it's Star Wars. I'm the Star Wars guy, at least in my circles, right? And yet, while the first 17 minutes kind of made me look forward to the movie, I can't say that I'm excited to see it. Now, I hope it ends up being really fun. As long as it's like really enjoyable, fun, give me that adventure, all that kind of stuff, I'll walk out of the theater with a good time. I hope it gives me that. And if it does, great. But for right now, prior to seeing it for the first time, I must confess, I am not excited to see it. And I don't sense a lot of people being excited to see it. I don't sense a lot of people being excited. Now, there's something that one of our viewers right now, Sean, is saying, and fair enough, Sean is saying, well, there are no stakes involved. How do you know if there are stakes involved? What do you mean there's no stakes involved? For all we know, Din dies. For all we know, Baby Yoda dies. For all we know, maybe there's a big family at the heart of this, and it turns out that what Mandalorian is really trying to do is save this family, and maybe he fails to save the family. Like, to say that there are no stakes, I mean, I say this respectfully, Sean, because I get where you're coming from on this, but to say that there are no stakes involved, you haven't seen the movie. You have no idea if there are stakes involved. There could be really big stakes, right? So, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. But so when I think about, well, why am I not excited? And I'm letting you into like my internal monologue here. Why am I not excited to see Mandalorian and Grogu when it's Star Wars, when I really love the first 2 seasons of Mandalorian. I really trust Jon Favreau, of course. So why am I not excited? And one of my friends said to me, and I get why. One of my friends said to me, well, maybe it's because like between like The Acolyte and Mandalorian season 3 and stuff like that, maybe you've just lost, understandably, some of your passion for Star Wars. And I understood where he's coming from, because that would make sense. But then I said to him, well, if that was true, why am I incredibly excited for Starfighter? Like, I am so excited for Starfighter. I cannot wait for Starfighter. I mean, maybe I end up loving Mandalorian and Grogu, but to me, Star Wars actually returns to the big screen when Starfighter comes out next year. Like, that's why. So it's not that I've lost passion or belief in Star Wars, especially coming off of Andor, which is the single greatest thing Star Wars has ever done since the original trilogy. So it's not that I've lost anything for Star Wars as a whole, because I'm so looking forward to that. But I don't know if it's the fact that it's just the extension of the TV show, or the fact that I was just left on a low note with the third season of Mandalorian, or maybe just because the marketing hasn't been that great. So I'm going to go see Mandalorian and Grogu, ladies and gentlemen, 5 times in the next 2 weeks. That's right. I'm going to see it Thursday in Las Vegas, because we start our drive for the movie meetups on Wednesday night. We're going to stop over in Las Vegas, and I got to see Mandalorian and Grogu opening day. So we're going to watch Mandalorian and Grogu in Las Vegas on Thursday. And then I've got 4 movie meetups. We got our movie meetup in, where are we going? We're going to Columbus, Ohio. I'm going to be watching it there on Sunday night. A week from today, we're going to be in Columbus, Ohio. Then 2 days after that, I'm watching it in New York. And then 2 days after that, we're watching it at the movie meetup in the Boston area. And then a couple days after that, we're going to be watching it in Toronto. So I hope I like it, because I got to see this son of a bitch 5 times. So hopefully I'm going to get a kick out of it. My buddy Ryan, who is going to be making the drive with me, because Ann can't go on. I mean, Ann's going to come to the Boston movie meetup because her company has an office out there. So she's going to fly out and meet us in Boston. So for those of you in the Boston area, the great and wonderful Ann Campea is going to be at the Boston movie meetup, but she can't make the whole trip with me. So I don't have to drive alone. My buddy Ryan has volunteered to come along. And so Ryan and I were talking the other day, and Ryan said, hey, if you don't mind, if we really don't like it after the first maybe 2 times we see it, maybe I just stay in the van for the movie for the 3rd, 4th, and 5th times we're supposed to see it. I said, I get it. I understand. It'll be okay. So yeah, guys, I guess my question is for you. And yeah, you're right. I am personally single-handedly making Mandalorian and Grogu profitable, as Top Gun Manny is saying in the live chat there. I mean, God, come on, Disney. I don't like Disney very much the last few years, but I mean, come on, Disney. I think I am doing more with the movie meetup tour to market Mandalorian and Grogu. I'm going to be personally responsible for half of the box office in its opening couple of weeks with these movie meetups. Yeah, 4 screenings. I think they should give me something. I really do. A lot of people online have often accused me of taking kickbacks or payments or shilling for Disney. I can assure you they've never given me shit, but damn well they should. For what I'm doing for Mandalorian and Grogu, they damn well should. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about the overall temperature and zeal, if you will, for Mandalorian and Grogu? I mean, I hope it has like a 90, 100, $110 million opening, but even if it does, I just don't feel that buzz you get when it's a brand new Star Wars film. I don't know. Whatever you guys think, jump on down into the comments section and let me know your thoughts. All right. With that down, guys, let's get on to your questions. Now, today's open mic is a little bit different because I suffered a major problem with my computer this week. I went to do an open mic 5 days ago. Was it 5 days ago? Might have been even 6 days ago. No, I think it was 5 days ago. Anyway, I was doing an open mic, and we started the show, and I was having camera problems. Like, oh no. And then I figured out I didn't fix the camera problem, but I figured out a bit of a workaround, and we started the show. But once we started the show, everybody in the live chat said, John, your audio's all choppy. So then I was having audio problems. I'm like, what is going on? So we stopped the show, and I haven't been able to do a live stream from my computer again until Friday. Friday was the first time I actually used my computer, because we don't use my computer to stream the show. That's usually Jonathan's computer. So Friday, I finally got it all worked out. So what we need to do today And I got the problem all fixed now, so thank goodness. So what we need to do today is, not only do I need to answer all the questions you guys are sending in today, I need to start off by answering all the questions that people sent in for that last open mic that I never got around to answering because I haven't been able to do a live stream. So we've got a lot of stuff to cover here today, guys. So let's get things kicked off here, shall we? And we're going to start off with Dildar the Glorious. Right? I don't know if you discussed this, but overreaction or under... Without the original trilogy, Star Wars is not a great franchise. Okay, here's the thing. I hear this sort of argument in different fields all the time, like whether you're talking about sports or music or whatever. Without the original trilogy, Star Wars is not that great of a franchise. That is a complete misnomer. That's like saying, without the two presidencies, Barack Obama's political career wasn't all that successful. Yeah, but he did have two presidencies. Without the first two Godfathers, the Godfather franchise isn't actually that good. But we do have the first two Godfather franchises. Without the 5 NBA championships, or 6 NBA championships, I should say, Michael Jordan's career wasn't all that notable. Yeah, but he does have 6 NBA championships. Like, I get it, but you can't say that, oh, well, if there wasn't this part of Star... Yeah, but that is a part of Star Wars, right? The original trilogy is core to what Star Wars is. Like, we only really understand everything that's happened since the original trilogy in light of the original trilogy. And yeah, sure, I would say that in a complete vacuum, let's just go, let's not even talk about the prequel garbage. Let's just talk about the Disney era, okay? Like, take the prequel garbage out of it. I would acknowledge that in a vacuum, the Disney era of Star Wars has been hit and miss. You had some fantastic stuff, Rogue One, Andor, Skeleton Crew, the first couple of seasons of Mandalorian. You've had some, and I would still say The Force Awakens. And it's been miss. Acolyte, season 3 of Mandalorian and Grogu, Book of Boba Fett, Rise of Skywalker, it's been hit and miss, but you can't say without the core main DNA identity of Star Wars isn't really all that great, because it is. You do have it. You do have it. So yeah, I think it's just I just think it's a fallacy question. I know you don't mean it that way, but I'm just saying I think it's a bit of a fallacy question, because you can't discuss Star Wars without that. It's like, I don't know, saying who's like one of the greatest pitchers of all time. I don't know baseball very well. Oh, let's say quarterbacks. Okay, you know, take away Tom Brady's passing. I don't think Tom Brady was that great of a quarterback if you take away his passing. But that's what the quarterback does. That's what Tom Brady, he throws the ball. Anyway, that's my take on that. All right, thanks for that, Dildar. Next up, we got Corey Mack, who writes, I watched Mortal Kombat yesterday in Limax. I like how the fight scenes were shot in 191 aspect ratio, giving the audience a more immersive picture. It was nice to see some of the moves, stages, and lore from the game I played as a kid. Kano carried the movie. Listen, like I said, I really didn't like the last Mortal Kombat movie that came out before this one. Didn't like it. It should have been dumb fun, but it was just dumb without the fun. It was a bad film, in my opinion. I had a good time with Mortal Kombat 2. I've not gone back to watch it twice. I probably won't go see it again. I don't think it was that great, but I had fun. I was entertained. And that's all I ask for a movie like that. And I thought some of the fighting was great, but I agree with you completely. I kind of expected Johnny Cage being played by Carl Urban would kind of steal the movie. What I was not expecting was that Kano would also steal the movie. Like, Johnny Cage and Kano were hilarious in it. I really enjoyed it. Took a massive second weekend drop, but whatever. All right. Thanks, man. Next up, we go to the Dark Nick, who writes, Wanted to share some exciting news. I welcomed home a new puppy. That is always exciting. He's an all-black German Shepherd, and I've named him Vader. That's awesome. You and Rob got me to see Sheep Detectives. And I'm just floored. It's still early, but will it be the biggest surprise of 2026? I don't know if it'll be the biggest surprise of 2026 because there was a lot of very high praise things being said about it. Now, it's not going to be, obviously, we already know it's not going to be a big box office film. That's fine. It was never going to be a big box office film. But yes, to this moment for me, it is I think it's the second best movie of the year so far. Now, granted, I did not see Obsession yet, and there's a lot of great movies to come this year. I'm sure it will not hold the number 2 spot of my favorite films of the year. But as of right now, like we're almost, 5 months? January, February, March? We're almost 5 months through the year. And I can say Sheep Detectives is my second favorite movie of the year so far. Project Hail Mary is still my favorite movie of the year. Guys, if you have not seen Sheep Detectives, it's so wonderful. It is just a wonderful movie, and I cannot wait to go watch it again. All right, next up. Jimmy the 5 says, just a question I mean with all respect. Oh, it's always good when it starts like that. Just a question that I mean with all due respect. Just a question I mean with all respect. But ever since AMC, there have been times that staff leaves, but you never give an explanation as to why. Don't you think your viewers have a right to know why someone is gone? I have been asked this question before. And you're not wrong. Like ever since the AMC days, like I would have some staff at AMC and then they wouldn't be there anymore. Or at Collider, I would have some staff and then suddenly some staff aren't there anymore. And so on and so forth. And yeah, that is true. And I never, unless it's for some completely practical sort of logistical reason, I never talk about or discuss why people aren't there anymore. The main reason for that is because that is a very hard rule of mine. Very hard rule. Now, I don't run a big team anymore like I did at AMC or at Collider. You know, I want the John Campea thing to be a very small thing. I started to let it get away from me a few years ago when I was growing the team and everything. And suddenly I had like 12 people working for the John Campea show. And I realized I did not want to recreate Movie Talk 2.0 and I changed directions. But the reason for the fact that I would never discuss it is because not every time, but oftentimes it would be because I would have to let somebody go. And here's my thought is that somebody losing their job is not your business. Like, I believe me, I know you're not trying to be disrespectful, Jimmy, the way when you say, like, don't you think the viewers have a right to know why somebody is gone? You are being respectful. I don't take that as disrespectful at all. So, but let me give you a real practical answer is that somebody losing their job is not your right to know. Somebody losing their job or why somebody lost their job is not your business. Particularly if I had to fire somebody for a reason, right? And believe me, there were times I had to fire people because lines were crossed or whatever, right? There were times that stuff like that happened. Well, why wouldn't I tell people? Well, because it's none of anybody's business. It's none of anybody's business. Like, how would you like it? I've said this before, but how would you like it if, like, you screwed up at your job or something and your boss fired you? But then your boss got on social media to tell the world why you got fired. That would not be cool. That would not be cool. Like, at all. And I just decided a long time ago, it will never be something that I do. I will not do that. No matter what it is they did. You know, a lot of times somebody just left because they moved or somebody just left because they got a great new job opportunity or I had once somebody that I really loved working with left just because they didn't want to be in this industry anymore. And like that happened too. There's a lot of that, and which is totally cool and great, but still not my place to talk about. I remember one time too, there was somebody once, and I won't even tell you what era this is from, because I'm not going to give you guys any kind of insight as to who it was, but there was once somebody that really crossed the line with a couple of our other staff members. And I was like, I got to let you go. Like you just violated a thing. They're never going to be able to work with you again. And I got to let you go. And so it kind of came up a while after that what I did, and this was on me, but I accidentally kind of let it slip. I had to let this person go. I didn't say why. I didn't go into any detail. I was just very kind of off the cuff. And I realized after I said that, it's like, that kind of breaks my own rule. I shouldn't have said that, but whatever. And then that person like reached out to me and said they talked to a lawyer and they were going to sue me for libel and defamation for telling people that I fired them or that I let them go. And I don't think this person realized that I have a background in law. So what I said to this person was, look, number one, no, you did not talk to a lawyer, because any lawyer would have told you that if you want to take somebody and sue them over defamation or libel, you have to prove that the person lied. I did let you go. That's the truth. I did not lie. Therefore, if you actually did talk to a lawyer, they would have told you that, no, you can't do anything. So you're lying to me right now. You did not talk to a lawyer, because any lawyer would have told you that. And I said, and if you do decide, even after you talk to a lawyer, that you, for whatever reason, against your lawyer's advice, you want to try to take me to court and sue me for defamation libel for telling the truth, which is just simply, I had let you go. And hey, listen, I agree. That broke my own rule. I shouldn't have done that, but it doesn't violate any laws. It's just my own personal rule. And I said, you do realize if you want to do that, there are going to be depositions, and why you got fired is going to become public. Do you want the public to know why you got fired? Never heard from them again. That was the end of it. Long the short of it is, when you say, doesn't the audience have a right to know? My answer is, I know what you're supposed to say is, well, of course the audience has a right to know. No, you fucking don't. What happens in somebody else's personal life with whatever issues they're dealing with or has going on, that is none of your business. It really isn't. And I know that doesn't sound like the audience-friendly thing to say, but you got to respect people's privacy, right? You got to respect people's privacy. And there have been people I've had to let go over ridiculous reason, like doing the most stupid stuff. And boy, they would make some fun stories to tell, but I will never tell them, even though I have a right to tell them if I want to, but I'm not going to, because how would I like it if I was working a job, I don't know, for Nike or something, and then I did something really stupid, and then Nike started getting on their social medias and talking about why I lost my job. That wouldn't be cool. That wouldn't be cool. I wouldn't like it. And so that's why when stuff like that happens, I don't talk about it, because it's not my business. If somebody else wants to talk about why they lost their job, that's on them. Then they can do that. But it's not my place to do it, and I try to respect those boundaries. But again, I know people think that makes me not audience friendly. I know people think that makes me like disrespecting my audience because I don't keep them abreast as to what's going on. Like, I understand that, and I can live with that. I can live with that makes people think of me a certain way. I can live with that. But what I couldn't live with is like airing out somebody else's dirty laundry. That is not my place. It's not my thing. I find it distasteful, and it's just something I don't do. Anyway. All right, let's move on here. Again, Jimmy, I understand you didn't mean that disrespectfully. You put it perfectly fine. I just hope that answers the question. All right. Next up. Let's see here. Harry Katsaros writes, HBO's Watchmen won 11 Emmys from 26 nominations, the most of any show that year. It won Outstanding Limited Series, Lead Actress Regina King, Supporting Actor Yahya Abdul-Mateen, and by boy, who's wonderful in Wonder Man. And Best Writing. We too easily forget how incredible that show was. Okay. I agree that Watchmen was wonderful. I loved it. Not everybody did, but I loved it. I thought it was really such a wonderful imagining of the Watchmen world. Right? I thought it was great. But here's the thing. While it is impressive for how many Emmys it won, it's much like the show Beef. Right? Beef, when season 1 came out, it was meant to be a limited series. So it won all types of Emmys as well. And it was great. It was great. But you got to remember, all the awards it won in the category of Best Limited Series, which means the competition is, the list of competition is much shorter. There are much fewer people in each category than there are then, say, for Best Comedy or Best Drama, right? There's much, much, much fewer of them. So it's a much smaller competition pool. And look, I don't say that to take away any of the Emmy wins that Beef won or any of the Emmy wins that Watchmen won, but I do think there is a difference between winning like Best Writing in a limited series versus winning Best Writing for a drama series, because the competition for Best Drama Series is much, much, much bigger. And so, again, I say this as somebody who loved Watchmen, okay? And so I don't mean that to cast any shade or disrespect on the limited series category. I'm glad it's a category. I think there should be a category for that. But also keep in mind that I think in the hierarchy of Emmys, I think you got to put limited series a little bit further down. Still impressive, still wonderful, but just a little asterisk that I would put in there as well. And again, I say this as somebody who loved the show myself. All right, thanks for that, Harry. Next up, Harry also writes in, John, as a fellow lover of shrinking, you absolutely have to watch Steve Carell's Rooster on HBO. I keep hearing that. It's the perfect remedy for shrinking withdrawal after the season recently ended. You know what? I'm so glad you're adding your recommendation to it, because I love Steve Carell. Like, 40-Year-Old Virgin is still my all-time favorite comedy. Number one all-time favorite comedy. I still think it's the best comedy ever made. And obviously his work in the Ron Burgundy films, Anchorman. I love Lamp. And then of course The Office and a long list of other things. But then he made that show, if you guys remember, I think it only lasted one season, Space Force. Not good. I was excited for that show. I didn't think it ended up being very good. So then this new one comes out called Rooster. And everybody's telling me it's great. So I am definitely going to be giving it a shot, Harry. All right, next up. Jose writes, Daredevil Born Again Season 2 was great. I agree. I love the courtroom drama, a la A Few Good Men. My favorite part was also Heather facing the mirror and seeing her true self as mentioned in her book. Did you realize the actor is one of the witch mothers in The Acolyte? No, I did not. The girl who plays the therapist, what was her name? Heather. I had no idea she was in The Acolyte. Probably a good thing I didn't realize she was in The Acolyte. I might have just thought about that while watching it. Acolyte was really not good. No, I did not know that. But yes, I loved that thing. And I'll tell you what, I thought that moment when she puts on the mask and then looks in the mirror and just sees her true face without the mask. She's wearing the mask, but she sees herself. I thought, without any dialogue, without any, narration, without anything. She just puts on the mask, looks in the mirror, and sees her true face. I thought that was brilliant. Like, absolutely brilliant. I really thought that was great. I'm glad you brought it up. All right. Next up, Gopala writes, for Bane, I hope they look beyond the muscles. He's a genius crime lord who grew up in hell, broke the bat physically and mentally. His addiction to venom is his weakness as it dulls his mind. Yes, he's strong, but what makes him dangerous is brains plus brawn. See, that was always one of the big problems. What was help me out in the live chat, guys. What was the name of the Batman movie that they had Bane in? It was one of the George Clooney ones. Was it Batman and Robin? Was that the name of it? Anyway, I'll just go with Batman and Robin. Okay, you guys are saying in the live chat that it was indeed, it wasn't Batman Forever. Batman Forever was Val Kilmer's, I believe. But everybody else is saying, yeah, Batman and Robin. Okay, so that was one of my big problems. I mean, there are many things that have problems with that movie, but I mean, that was one of my big problems, is that Bane isn't just a Hulk. Like, if you read Nightfall and the stuff leading up to Nightfall, Bane is executing a masterful strategic plan. He's like throwing all this stuff at Bruce to slowly chip away at him, both mentally and physically. And then after he's executed this big, long, brilliantly strategic plan, then he goes out and confronts him one-on-one and breaks his back, right? He's a genius. And I like with that movie, just taking him and making him it's like, oh my God, like that is not Bane. That's not Bane. It looks like Bane and he's big like Bane, but they're totally missing the absolute core fundamental of who and what he is. And that drove me crazy. So yes, I completely agree that any type of iteration they do with Bane in this upcoming Deathstroke movie, Deathstroke and Bane, I really hope they don't forget to keep that as a part of the character. All right. With that down, guys, let's now move over to the super chats that you guys had been sending in. And this will include the ones from a few days ago and the ones that you guys have been sending in here today. So let's get to it here. We're going to start off with Bry Guy, who writes, who's the better right-hand man, Buck from Daredevil or Jane from Paradise? To me, this is easy. They are both fantastic characters. If you guys have not started watching Paradise, you absolutely should watch Paradise. It's wonderful. Anyway, and Jane is an amazing character in it. But here's the thing. Easily, Buck. Buck is the better right-hand man. And the reason Buck is the better right-hand man is specifically because he's reliable. Jane will go off script and maybe do a number of things you didn't want her to do. Whereas Buck is a to the letter type of perfectionist. That's why Buck is the better one. At least to me. Let's see. Jay Bling writes, thoughts on SAG-AFTRA and the AMPTP reaching a tentative agreement. Oh, wait a minute. You know what? I did answer these questions. No, I didn't. I didn't answer these questions. Thoughts on SAG-AFTRA and the AMPTP reaching a tentative agreement last week per the trades. It was predictable. It was predictable because some people are saying, I think you answered that. I did, because I got through a few questions, I think, before I had to cancel the stream. So I'm going to answer a couple of them for a second time. It was predictable. Like, once the writers reached their agreement, I think it just became academic that they were going to reach an agreement with the actors as well. And listen, nobody wanted another strike. The actors could not survive it. The industry cannot survive it. The studios could not survive it. Nobody wanted another strike. Everybody knew they had to get this done. And once the writers got theirs done, then they were able to make a bunch of progress and get some stuff done. Wait a minute. Some people are saying, did I answer these on Friday, or did I think I took a whole bunch of new questions on Friday. Oh, you know what? Maybe I did answer these on Friday. Let me just fast forward to a couple of others. Oh my goodness. You know what? I think I did answer these. You know what? I did. All right. So let's just jump now to today's questions, shall we? Okay, that's what we'll do. We will jump to today's questions. Oh my God. You know what? I didn't realize I had answered those ones already. I thought I overlooked those ones. Okay, so let's get and answer today's questions then. All right, the first one that you guys started sending in from today was M. Jada. Some of you guys got to have your questions answered twice. All right. M. Jada writes, Paramount might have been actually the best studio tour because I could actually walk on the live sets and shows like Matlock, Rookie, and NCIS Origins. Well, you can do that with the Universal tour as well, and with the Warner Brothers tour. At least they did for us when I took the Warner Brothers tour. I did not know. Listen, honestly, I did not know Paramount. I didn't know Paramount did studio tours. I did not know that. I mean, listen, I've been on the Paramount lot many times, but I never did the studio tour. I didn't know they had one. Thank you for putting that on my radar and letting me know. All right, next up. Screen Speak. I keep hitting the wrong button. Let's see. Screen Speak. Sorry, I'm having a whole time getting this up here. Here you go. Screen Speak. I can't wait to meet you next week, John. I'm assuming you're going to be at one of the movie meetups. I will look forward to meeting you as well. All right. For some reason, I cannot get the questions to scroll. Give me a second here. There we go. All right. Next up, Ian McAllister writes, one of two. Hello from my vacation to Atlantic coastal Canada, currently in Halifax, Nova Scotia. Fun fact, that's the city I was born in. I was born in Halifax, Nova Scotia. Anyway, one of my favorite genres of horror is found footage. I recently bought a Nikon Z5 II for photography, but after watching Troll Hunter and The Dinosaur Project, I'm inspired to make my own. What are some tropes or bad habits made by found footage films you recommend I avoid? I'm the wrong guy to answer that because I don't like found footage movies. Now, look, there are a couple I have. The original Blair Witch was an amazing cinematic experience. Like, that was an amazing experience in the movie theater watching the first Blair Witch for the first time. It was crazy, right? But the whole subgenre got really tired really fast. Now, then came along Josh Trank's what's the name of the movie? Chronicle. Then came along Chronicle. And I was not excited to see it. I wasn't really interested in seeing it because I'd grown so tired of found footage stuff. Chronicle completely won me over. I loved Chronicle. It was fabulous. And I mean, Josh Trank deserves a lot of credit for what he did with that. He made that a remarkably enjoyable film. But honestly, I just don't like the subgenre. Outside of those two exceptions, I just don't like the subgenre at all. So I'm the wrong guy to ask. Now, somebody in the live chat put out one really good piece of advice, but I can't find. Oh yeah, what was it? Chronicle is badass, but there it is. Ref Place is saying avoid shaky camera. Please, for the love of heaven, avoid shaky camera. That's the big thing to me, is avoid the shaky camera. All right, let's keep going here. Next up, we got Orange Hand writes, do you think having, I know I'm going to mispronounce this, aphantasia, the inability to picture things in your mind, makes it difficult to do well in creative, imaginative feels like film? I have to imagine it would. Now, I don't think that means it excludes somebody with it from it, but I do think it makes it harder. Much like I would say, like if somebody was had one arm amputee, that will make it more difficult to play professional baseball. But that's not impossible. That does not mean it's impossible for you to do it. Do I think that will make it? Do I think, in my total non-expert opinion, think that would make it more challenging and difficult to be involved in creative fields? I have to imagine it would. Again, I'm no expert, but you're asking me the question, so I'll give you my totally non-expert answer. But yeah, I have to imagine it would make it more challenging. All right, next up. Empire Strikes Back to the Future writes, thoughts on Obsession, my 2 favorite movie of 2026. Well, Obsession is only one movie, so I'm not quite sure you mean your 2 favorite. But again, yesterday was family function followed by big birthday celebration. Today has been going to the presidential library. I have not had a chance to see Obsession yet. Probably Monday or Tuesday, I'll finally get out to see it, but I have not seen it yet. But I hear great things about it, so I'm looking forward to watching it. All right, next up, Quantum of Zen writes, if it weren't for your movie meetup, I wouldn't even consider seeing Mandalorian and Grogu in the theater. See, Disney? You owe me. Yeah, and you know what? I get that. You know, some people have said, help me out in the live chat, does Back Rooms open this week? Does it open this week alongside Mandalorian and Grogu? I know there's a like a 15, 20 second delay, so I'll give that a second. But yeah, a bunch of people saying yes. Now some people are saying no. Oh, they're saying next week. Okay. Right, but I'll be out on the movie meetup tour, and some people were asking, well, why not for the later movie meetups? Why don't you do for the movie meetups for, say, like Back Rooms instead of Mandalorian and Grogu? Well, because regardless of which one will be the better film, a lot more people are interested in seeing Mandalorian and Grogu than they are to see Back Rooms. Like, I'm sorry, but that's just a fact. Like, that's just an absolute indisputable fact. Back Rooms is not going to open to $80 million. And so even though I don't want to see Mandalorian and Grogu for a 4th and 5th time, it's not about me. It's about the audience in the city that I'm going to. And so we will do Mandalorian and Grogu again. Again, I'm sure there are some people who are more interested in Back Rooms over Mandalorian and Grogu. Absolutely. But if you ask me, hey, are the majority of film fans in Boston or the majority of film fans in Toronto, do you think the majority of them are more interested in Mandalorian and Grogu or Back Rooms? The answer is obvious. There's more people interested in Mandalorian and Grogu, and so that's why we're doing those. But yeah, I am very looking forward to seeing Back Rooms as well. I am super excited to see Back Rooms. That trailer was crazy good. All right, looking forward to seeing you, Quantum of Zen. Next up, Fish Flicks Entertainment writes, if the Oscars were tomorrow, Indy, I always mispronounce her last name, Navarrete? It's either Navarrete or Navarrete. Forgive me if I'm mispronouncing it. Wins for Best Actress. It's early, but she gave the best performance of the year so far, male or female. This is the girl who's the female lead in Obsession. I haven't seen the movie yet, so I can't definitively say if what you're saying is a hot take or not. But I'm going to guess it's a hot take because as much as I hear people saying they love Obsession, I don't really hear anybody saying this is an Oscar caliber performance. I don't hear anybody saying that. Now, maybe once I see it, I'll say it. But I am looking forward to seeing it, and I'm really looking to seeing how well they do in it. And who knows, maybe when I come out of that theater, I will think, damn, this girl's going to get an Oscar nomination. Maybe yes, maybe no. We'll see. All right. Thanks, Fish. Next up, Rudger Cole writes, let me tell you, John, Obsession was incredible. My favorite of the year so far. Would be shocked if it's not in my top 5. Looking forward to your thoughts. You know what? I've talked to many people who have seen Obsession. Not everybody's going to like it. Okay? Not everybody's going to like it. All I can tell you is that everybody I know who has seen it has either liked it or loved it. I have not talked to a single person yet that I know who just flat out didn't like the movie. Not one. Not one. So I am, and I've been kind of really obsessed with, get it? I've been kind of really obsessed with this movie ever since the first trailer. If you guys remember months ago when that first trailer dropped for it, I'm like, holy crap, what an awesome premise. I can't wait to see this thing. So hopefully I like it as much as you guys do. All right. Rylan writes, one of two. I'm starting to think we may get a second Spider-Man trailer before we get our first Doomsday teaser. I think that's probably a good bet, especially if it isn't released sometime this week in connection to the Mando movie. Yeah, I mean, because we are getting now really close to Spider-Man Brand New Day. It is time for a second trailer. And so I was of the belief that we were going to get that Avengers Doomsday trailer that they showed us at CinemaCon. I was of the belief that we would get it prior to Mandalorian. I really was. I really thought that we would get it. Now, nobody told me that. I just personally, as a fan, speculating, I really thought that they would drop it before Mandalorian came out. And they haven't. And it's starting to look like they won't. And so you may be very right. We may very well indeed get a second Spider-Man Brand New Day trailer before, which is fine because, again, Avengers Doomsday doesn't come out until December. But I think it's starting to look like we're going to get a second trailer to Spider-Man before we get that first one to Doomsday dropped. All right, next up. Rylan also writes, I think they know how anticipated it is and aren't in any rush because of that. That is not how Disney... Nope, you're wrong. That is not how Disney thinks. Anyway, it will be the biggest movie of the year. I am just hoping we see something soon, as in before July's Comic-Con. See, here's the thing, and I've had this debate with Rob a lot, and Rob has come around to agree with me on this. Sometimes he convinces me, and sometimes I convince him. In this case, I convinced him. But I remember back when Avengers Endgame was coming out, right? There was this thought that it wasn't just Rob, it was a lot of people in the fan community. There was this thought going around that they didn't even need to put out any trailers for it. Did you guys, I'm sure you guys saw that chatter back when Endgame was coming out. Like there was this real belief in some circles in the fan community that they don't even need to advertise Endgame. They don't even need to put out any trailers. And I'm like, that's not how it works. As a matter of fact, you're going to see that Disney will break the all-time record on marketing for Endgame. And they did. They spent more money advertising Endgame than any other film in history at the time. No other film in history spent as much money on advertising and marketing than Avengers Endgame up until that point. And what was the result? The second highest grossing film in history. That was the result. Well, it would have made that much money without the marketing. I'm sorry, you're just so far wrong, it's hardly justifies even addressing. If big corporations thought they could save themselves $300 million, they would save $300 million. But they don't. Why? Because they have decades of study and decades of research and decades of data and information that beyond a shadow of a doubt proves that yes, even Avengers Doomsday, or at the time Avengers Endgame, and yes, Avengers Doomsday needs a robust, high quality, high impact marketing campaign for that movie to reach its potential. You know why? Because they don't want Doomsday to make $1.2 billion. They want Doomsday to make $1.7 billion or $2 billion or $2.3 billion. Whatever, because they know they're going to get 3 times back on their marketing. They're going to get like 3 times back on their marketing, maybe like 2.5 times back on their marketing. If they spend $300 million, they're going to get at least $600 extra million at the box office. They know that. So look, what I'm basically saying here is that it's very well may be that we don't get the Avengers Doomsday trailer made public until Comic-Con. I mean, maybe. I don't think they'll wait that long, but they might. But if they do, I can guarantee you it is not because they're not in any rush. It's not because they know how anticipated it is. If they do end up waiting until Comic-Con to release it, it's because their strategy dictates that they think that's how it'll be most effective. If they think the most effective thing is to drop it right now, they're going to drop it right now. If they think the most effective thing is to drop it with Mandalorian, they're going to drop it with Mandalorian. If they think the most effective way is to have a 5-month marketing push and start at Comic-Con, then that's what they're going to do. It has nothing to do with they already think the movie's highly anticipated. That won't have anything to do with their thought process at all. So maybe we get it with Mandalorian. Maybe we get it with Spider-Man Brand New Day. Maybe we get it with Comic-Con. Hell, maybe we don't get it till August. But whenever they give it, it will fall on the exact day that they think that is the most effective and best use of their time to do it. It's not going to be because they think it's already highly anticipated. Just something to keep in mind. All right. Thanks a lot for the question, Rylan. Appreciate that, man. All right. Next up. Let's see. The Daily Prophet writes, "What's up? I hope I won't get disappointed seeing The Mandalorian. You and me both, brother. Also, I just found out that George Lucas never directed Empire Strikes Back. You know, it is crazy how many people still don't realize that. He also, by the way, did not direct Return of the Jedi. The only Star Wars film of the original trilogy, the only Star Wars film of the original trilogy that George Lucas directed, and maybe some of you are hearing this for the first time, was the original Star Wars. It was the original Star Wars. This is a weird question. Mr. Paul is saying, did Campea really trash the Michael movie? No, I gave Michael a positive review. I mean, I think it had its problems, but I gave Michael a positive review, just so there's no confusion there. I enjoyed the movie. I was dancing in my seat. I think there are some legitimate criticisms being levied against the movie. I don't think it's going to be in my top 5 favorite films of all time, but I liked Michael. Anyway, so getting back to this, yes. It was kind of, it's that weird thing today where everybody just assumes he directed, but he did not. Irvin Kershner directed Empire Strikes Back. Now, they are still, when you talk about Empire and Return of the Jedi, they are still truly George Lucas's movies. I mean, he still wrote them. He completely oversaw everything about them. Like they are still truly his movies, but he did not direct the second 2. And it's kind of funny that, but yes, but you're not alone, man. Like there are a lot of people, who just assume, and it's understandably why, that he directed all of them when in fact he did not. All right, next up. Ryan Loney writes, 1 of 2. You often talk about how the prequels are great on paper. Have you read the Revenge of the Sith novelization by Matthew Stover? Believe me, it's the tragedy of Anakin Skywalker finally realized. All the dialogue is rewritten. There is no high ground or Vader no here. It's the best written Star Wars book right from the prologue. Well, I mean, look, to be specific, what I've always said about the prequels is not that they're so much great on paper. That's part of it. But more specifically, what I have always believed about the absolute dog shit heaps that are the prequels is this, is if you write out a 4-page treatment for each of the 3 movies, like just the general basic bones in 4 pages. So this happens and this happens and this happens, and you get the whole movie just in like 4 pages and you get the outline. It's really good. It has a lot of potential. It has a lot of potential. It's actually really good bones. Like really, really good bones. All 3 of them. Like Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, Revenge of the Sith. All 3 of them have really good bones for the basic story. they just unfortunately were all executed like absolute crap and were terrible. And I contend to this day, it was really a byproduct of George Lucas, who I revere, of George Lucas literally having nobody on the planet who could say no. And he was completely surrounded by yes men. I know several people who worked at Lucasfilm at that time, and like nobody ever, it's like whenever George said something, it was, oh, brilliant, George, brilliant, just brilliant. Fantastic, George, fantastic. He was completely surrounded by yes men. Some really talented, gifted, intelligent yes men, but yes men nonetheless. There's this really famous thing. There's this really famous moment in the DVDs. But by the way, as much as I hate the prequels, oh my God, the DVDs of all three prequel films are the best special features on any DVD ever. All the behind the scenes making of stuff on all three of the prequel films on DVD, amazing stuff to watch. Like thoroughly engaging, fascinating, entertaining, eye-opening. Like seriously, guys, if you have never had the chance, get your hands on some of the original DVDs of the prequels and just watch the hours of special features. They're fantastic. Like so good. Anyway, that aside, there's this really famous moment that happens in one of the behind the scenes things, one of the making of behind the scenes things of the Phantom Menace, where, sorry, still Bill in the live chat saying the Force doesn't care if you like the prequels or not, but do the midichlorians care if I like the Force, like the prequels or not? I'm just curious if the midichlorians care or not. I'm just curious about that. Anyway, let's get back to the thing. So there's this really scene that kind of encapsulates everything about the problem. And it's a moment, again, this is in the behind the scenes making of the movie. So there's this documentary, they're filming George as George goes into the art department, right? Where they're sketching out and doing all the storyboards for Phantom Menace. And George walks in and he's looking at one of these storyboards where Jar Jar is on the storyboard, right? And George said this, and he couldn't have been more right. He said, it's all about Jar Jar. Everything hinges on Jar Jar. Essentially implying like this movie's going to work or not work completely based on how well Jar Jar comes off. Like it was all about Jar Jar. And boy, George couldn't have been more right. I will always have a little shrine burning incense, worshiping George Lucas in my house for the rest of my life. Always. That being said, boy, George couldn't have been more right. But here's the other big thing. Not only was that very telling, but when that happened, nobody in that room, and it was a crowded room of creatives, nobody in that room even raised a hand to go, I don't know if Jar Jar works all that well. Like nobody, everybody's just, yes, George. Yeah, sure. It's going to be Jar Jar for life, babe. People are going to be getting Jar Jar tattooed on them. And by the way, none of what happened with Jar Jar was even 1 ounce Ahmed Best's fault. The crap Ahmed Best took because of Jar Jar is absolutely insane and unacceptable. He was an actor fulfilling the role, being able to be in a Star Wars movie, fulfilling his dream and doing exactly what his director told him to do. The fact that Ahmed Best got hate in his life because of that is one of the most stupid, ignorant things I've ever heard of. Like between him and the kid who played Anakin, like any of that was the kid's fault? Absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous the hate those people, those kids took. Anyway. Um, and yes, Fanboys is awesome. A good friend of mine actually made Fanboys, is the director of Fanboys. He's been on my show a couple of times. My buddy, Kyle Newman, is the creator of Fanboys, and he is wonderful. Anyway, so that's all that. That's all that. But I would be interested in the novelization to see somebody else's take on it, because like I said, I do agree. I think the basic bones of the story idea for all three films is actually loaded with potential. All right. Ryan Looney writes, Kripke, that's the creator of Supernatural and The Boys, just told Collider, where I wrote for 2 years, thanks to your inspiration, that Soldier Boy is not in the finale. Thoughts? I'm okay with it. I'm okay with that too. I'm looking forward to go seeing I'm going to go see The Boys finale on Tuesday night in theaters. Ann and me and Rob, and I think my buddy Ryan's going to go. Going to go see it. Very excited about it. Can't wait. This season has been phenomenal. This season has been, I'm not going to say it's the best season of The Boys. I don't think it's the best season, but all 5 seasons have been so damn good. And this season has been great. I hope they're able to nail the ending and the finale. Anyway, to the point about Soldier Boy, I'm okay with it. I feel like they wrapped up Soldier Boy. I think they wrapped up Soldier Boy pretty damn well. And I mean, obviously something's going to have to happen after however the show concludes. And of course we've got a Soldier Boy thing coming, but I'm okay with him not being in the finale. I think the main point of his narrative is particularly getting the V1 to Homelander. It's done. And so if that's true and he's not actually in the finale, I'm okay with that. Because while he has been a wonderful character in The Boys is not about Soldier Boy. The Boys is about The Boys, and it's about Homelander. And if they focus just more on that in the finale, I'll be perfectly happy with it. But we'll see. Hopefully they'll be able to stick the landing. A lot of my all-time favorite shows have not done a good job sticking the landing with their finale. So let's see if The Boys does. All right, next up. Cameron Bird writes, do you think that Prada 2 has taken away any remaining hope that Michael may have had at reaching $1 billion? Also, it looks like Mario Galaxy might reach just under $1 billion. What are your thoughts? I don't think, listen, after I saw, remember, I've said from the beginning, I've said for years, Michael was going to be huge. And if I'm not mistaken, I think it is past $700 million now. Let me just open up, Box Office Mojo here, but I think Michael has now crossed 700 million. If I'm not mistaken. Yes, it has crossed 700 million. It is now at $703 million in its 4th weekend, which is terrific. Terrific money. But I don't think it's The Devil Wears Prada. Like, after I saw Michael, there were 2 thoughts I had. One, I enjoyed it. I had a good time with it. But number 2, I thought it could have been better. Right? Especially with one of my favorite directors, Antoine Fuqua, directing it. Like, that's been the thing that had driven my excitement to see Michael was, I mean, yeah, I grew up as a Michael Jackson fan, sure, but this is a movie. The thing that has really driven my excitement was Antoine Fuqua directing it, I think is just a fantastic director. Anyway, I enjoyed it. I think it's a good movie, but I also thought it could have been better. I thought Michael Jackson deserved a better telling of his story. Regardless if there's going to be a second movie, I thought this movie could have been better. And I remember after seeing it for the first time that while I had fun with it and I was dancing in my seat and I thought it was good, I didn't think it was good enough to generate the sort of major positivity to elicit enough people going back to see it multiple times, or enough people excited about it to get their friends who are on the fence about it to go, to get it to cross that $1 billion mark. Like I said for years that I thought absolutely Michael had the potential to be a $1 billion film. 100% it did. But I don't think the film, while good, did not live up to its potential. I thought it had the potential to be better. And had it been better, I don't think $1 billion is going to be out of its reach. Now, that all being said means whether or not Devil Wears Prada 2 came out, which, by the way, and after just its second weekend, just crossed its third weekend. Michael has crossed its fourth. Devil Wears Prada has just crossed its third. Devil Wears Prada is already at $550 million too. That's a lot, but I don't think that is what's going to keep Michael from getting to the $1 billion mark. I just don't think that's it. I think what's going to keep Michael from getting to the $1 billion mark is the fact that it wasn't quite good enough, despite the fact that I liked it. I don't think it was quite good enough to get to the $1 billion mark. Now, that being said, it's already made $700 million. The movie is already a legit big success. Like, yeah, it doesn't get the $1 billion mark is not the benchmark about whether something is successful or not. I mean, if anything goes over $1 billion, it's clearly a success. But you can be well under $1 billion and still be a massive success. Michael is a massive success. It's not going to get to the $1 billion mark because it wasn't quite good enough to get to the $1 billion mark. But don't let anybody tell you that Michael isn't a huge success. Because it is. It is a big, big success. And it's already over 700. So yeah, interesting question. AI 109 is asking, could the sequel get to $1 billion? Yeah, I think the sequel could, again, but it would have to be good enough to get to that $1 billion mark, right? Because not everybody loved this Michael movie. There's a bunch of people who didn't like it. And so it's going to be a big task to get those people who didn't like the first one to come back and see the second one. But if the second one is good enough and it generates those positive reviews and it generates that positive word of mouth and it generates all that kind of stuff, you can even get the people who didn't like the first one to come back to the second one and hopefully get more repeat viewings for the second one. And yes, again, I'm not saying the sequel will be $1 billion film, but you're asking, could the sequel be $1 billion, get to $1 billion? Yeah. Certain things have to happen in order for it to happen, but yes, it could. It absolutely could. So we'll see. All right. Guys, I just realized I have totally forgotten to turn off the super chats, and we have a hell of a lot of super chats in there. So I am now turning off the super chats, and because we've got a lot in the queue already. We've already got a lot of questions in. So I'm going to turn off the super chats, and I will now continue with answering all the ones that we've got sent in here. All right, let's keep going here. Where did I leave off? I left off with, nope, not that one, not that one, not that one. Wow, I am really behind. Where did I leave off? Let me keep going. Come on, no, this can't be right. Hold on a second. Sorry, guys. This is the drawback of doing things by myself. All right. Okay. Now I'm starting to get caught up with where I was. There's Ruggers. There's Rylands. Okay. There we are. I think we're caught up now. Because that was Cameron Birds, right? Yes. So, yeah, no, I don't think Michael's going to get to $1 billion, but it's not because of Devil Wears Prada 2. Even though Devil Wears Prada is making a lot of money, it's not a huge overlap. And, yeah, so there's that. All right. Ryan Looney writes, what are your thoughts on Monarch Season 2? Really liked it. I didn't love how it ended, to be honest with you, but I thought overall the season was very strong. But like the ending, like, okay, why is the giant monster? Why do you just assume the giant monster is going to follow the girl? Like, where did that big logic leap come from? And why is the monster following her? How does that make any sense? Just because she could hear its vibrations in the ocean, that means, oh, if the monster sees her, it's going to give up what it's doing and just go. Like, that was kind of weird. I love Amber Midthunder. For those of you who didn't know, like the girl who shows up in it, that's Amber Midthunder. That's the girl from Prey, from that Predator movie Prey. She's awesome. I love her, but I thought her character, whatever. I didn't think the character was necessary, all that. Still, overall, I thought the season was really quite enjoyable. I liked it a lot. But yeah, there we go. All right, next up. Let's see. Matthew Paul writes, I appreciate your comments about the state of American church and about the faith a couple weeks back. I'm in the minority, I know, but I'd be interested in hearing a sermon from you. You know what? I am probably at some point, just for fun, I will probably record or maybe even do it live. I might do a sermon at some point. We'll see. We'll see. But I appreciate the kind words, man. Thank you. I appreciate that. All right. Next up. John Redcorn writes, curious to see the box office for Street Fighter after Mortal Kombat 2 underperformed. Did Mortal Kombat 2 underperform? Did it? Let's talk about that in a second. Maybe movies about these fighting games for a niche audience. And that's all we got. Or are for a niche audience. No one's going to go see Street Fighter. Obviously, some people are going to go see Street Fighter. It's not going to make a lot of money. It's not. I hope it's good. It looks like trash, but I hope it's good. There have been movies that I thought looked like trash and I went to ended up really enjoying. I hope that happens with Street Fighter. I love Jason Momoa. I hope it's good for everybody involved. Let's go at, but you know what? I am wondering. I don't think Masters of the Universe is going to make a lot of money. I think it has a chance to be pretty good because it's Travis Knight directing it. And pardon me, guys. And Travis Knight is wonderful. So I think Masters of the Universe, and it should have been called He-Man. Anyway, I think Masters of the Universe has a chance to be pretty good, but I don't think it's going to make much money. And Mortal Kombat did not make a lot of money. I don't think you can say it underperformed, though, but we'll talk about that in a second. I just don't know that these nostalgia plays for 80s and early 90s properties appeal as much as the industry thinks it does, and that we thought it did. Yeah, everybody knows Mortal Kombat, but people were not clamoring to run out and go see Mortal Kombat. Everybody remembers Master Universe. I don't think people are clamoring to run, talking about the general movie-going audience, I don't think people are clamoring to run out to the theaters to see a He-Man thing. I don't think people are clamoring to run out and go watch Street Fighter, especially with their terrible trailers. And maybe, like I said, that might not be true. I'm just wondering that. I might be completely off about that. I might have a totally different opinion in 2 weeks, but yeah, I just don't know that. I just don't think there's this audience for 80s nostalgia bait as much. And like SMG is saying, like, I do think Masters of the Universe is about 20 years too late. I agree. Now, some people then may say, well, what about Mario Brothers? Like, Mario's $1 billion film. Yes, but Mario Brothers is not an 80s thing. The power of Mario Brothers is that there were people playing Mario Brothers in the 80s, and there were people playing new people playing new Mario Brothers in the 90s, and new people playing new Mario Brothers in the 2000s, and new people playing new Mario Brothers in the 2010s, and new people playing new Mario games in the 2020s. It's not just this thing from the 80s that we're now just going to bring up now. Mario Brothers is a multi-generational, like, huge IP, a thing that has been a constant with us. Street Fighter has not, Mortal Kombat is not really. And Masters of the Universe hasn't. So I'm not sure. Now, let me just talk for a second about this thing that you mentioned about Mortal Kombat underperformed. Based on what? I mean, it didn't make a lot of money, but was anybody expecting Mortal Kombat to make a lot of money? Like, look, The new Mortal Kombat, let me just double check this. I think the new Mortal Kombat has already passed the last Mortal Kombat movie, because the last Mortal Kombat made $84 million in total. The new Mortal Kombat movie has already passed $100 million. When you say it underperformed, who was expecting Mortal Kombat to make $300 million at the box office? I mean, Mortal Kombat can lose money. I don't disagree, but that's not what you said. What the statement was that it underperformed. Did it? Like, you can have a movie that makes money and is profitable, and that is true. That movie was profitable. But if they were really counting on or believing or projecting that it was going to make double of what it did, then you can say it was profitable, yet it underperformed. At the same time, I think a movie can lose money and not have underperformed, because I don't know that anybody expected it to make much more than that. Did any of you, I'm just curious, did any of you guys think Mortal Kombat, remember the last one made $84 million. There were some extenuating circumstances. Absolutely. I'm not saying there weren't, but I'm just saying, did any of you guys in the live chat think Mortal Kombat was going to make like $300 million? Anybody? I don't think he did. Mortal Kombat is going to lose money. Ron is absolutely right about that. But I don't know that you can say it underperformed, because I don't think anybody expected it to do too much more. So, we'll see. Oh, man. I'm drinking something carbonated, and like a bubble went up the wrong way, and now I'm sneezing. Oh, my gosh. Anyway. Okay, let's keep going. And by the way, it's not done yet. It's not done. Mortal Kombat, I think, if I'm not mistaken, it just did its third weekend. Did it? No, it just had its second weekend. It just had its second weekend. I could see Mortal Kombat getting to $150 million. And by the way, I'm not quite sure what the production budget of Mortal Kombat was. Let me double check. Let me just look into this for a second. I've never looked into it. Let's see. What is the production budget for Mortal Kombat 2? Let me just see if I can get some info on that. So $80 million. Okay, it's got a long way to go. I have a feeling it probably will lose money, because apparently the production budget was $80 million. From what I understood, they spent about $30 million on marketing it. So if you take 30 million, sorry, that's not 30 million. So what they basically need to make, why can't I get this thing? Oh, there we go. So 80 million plus 30 million is 110 million. So you multiply that by 1.5. And so roughly speaking, Mortal Kombat needs to make $165 million to break even. Roughly speaking, it needs to make about $165 million to break even. I don't think it's going to get to that. It might get closer than we think, though. Again, it only just finished the second weekend. It made $13.5 million on its second weekend. That's going to obviously decrease. So it's probably going to end up around 130 million, but there's a chance to get, I mean, I don't know. If it gets a little bit of a surge, it could get to 100. Either way, it's going to lose money. I just don't know that we can say it underperformed, because I don't know anybody that really thought it was going to be much bigger, I think. Anyway, maybe I'm right about that. Maybe I'm wrong. All right. Next up, we got Alex Calderon, who writes, I'm definitely excited, but I don't have high hopes. Mostly excited for the Star Wars Unlimited promos at AMC. Listen, again, I can at least say for Mandalorian and Grogu, my interest has gone up after watching the opening 17 minutes. Because like, listen, you guys know I've been skeptical, but again, the first 17 minutes were pretty good. If the rest of the movie can be as good as the first 17 minutes, I think we're in for a good time. We'll see. All right, thanks for that, Alex. Next up, Sebastian Gomez writes, I can't wait to see you in New York. The hype would be crazy if the show stopped after season 2 and after 6 years, Mando and Grogu reunited on the big screen. You know what? 100% right. 100% right. If there was no Mandalorian and Grogu season 3, if that just didn't exist, and the last thing we saw of Mandalorian was Luke Skywalker showing up to take little baby Grogu away. And if they didn't have him then in the Book of Boba Fett, that's another key thing. So if there was no Mandalorian and Grogu season 2, and there was no having Mandalorian and Baby Yoda pop up in Book of Boba Fett, and that was the last time we saw them, and now here we are with them returning, but returning to the big screen. It would still have the problem of just being the continuation of a TV series as your first time back on the screen for Star Wars. That would still be a problem. But, yeah. If the last time we saw them was with Luke walking off with baby Grogu, and now we're back, I 100% think you're right. I think there would be a very different vibe. Floating around. And you know, part of Mandalorian and Grogu is, how does Din and Baby Yoda reunite? How does that all happen? Like, as long as you don't cover all the stuff that was in Book of Boba Fett, then I think you're doing, yeah. I think the hype is bigger. I still don't think it'll be monstrously big, because again, you're still dealing with the problem that it's just the continuation of a TV show. But I do think you're right. I think the hype would be significantly bigger. All right. King Daddy Goat writes, Obsession is a new all-time favorite of mine, 9 out of 10. I love hearing how much people are loving this movie. I cannot wait to see it myself. Enrique writes, all right, John, what about David Fincher and Paul Thomas Anderson? Are their filmography more diverse than Nolan and Tarantino? And what is your favorite Fincher and PTA film? I kind of covered that in the last one. And the answer is yes and no. Because just like the last time somebody asked me about this, it's not like it's because the movies are all identical. The thing is, when you look at guys like what I often bring up with somebody like Tarantino and what have you, and to a degree Nolan, and I love both of them, is that even when they're telling different kinds of stories, like Inception, right, is very different from The Odyssey. We haven't seen The Odyssey, but clearly it's going to be very, very different than The Odyssey. Insomnia is very, very different from Oppenheimer, right? The thing is, though, and Hateful Eight is very different than Reservoir Dogs. But the thing is, when you watch any Quentin Tarantino movie, they all have that Quentin Tarantino DNA to it. Even if you had never heard of Inglourious Bastards, right? Let's say you'd never heard of it before, but you're very familiar with Quentin Tarantino's films, but not Inglourious Bastards or not Django. Let's do Inglourious Bastards. If you sat down and watched Inglourious Bastards, and then you were asked, name 3 directors who you think might have just directed this movie you just watched, you're probably going to make Quentin Tarantino one of those things. Why? Because it feels very much like a Quentin Tarantino movie. That in and of itself is not a bad thing. But one of the things that makes, and this is these discussions are always tied into the discussion with Steven Spielberg, is that what makes Steven Spielberg, one of the things that makes Steven Spielberg the absolute undisputed GOAT of all time is his ability to morph his own style to fit the nature of the story that he's trying to tell. If you had never seen War Horse, which, by the way, criminally underrated movie, War Horse. So good. Not one of his top 3 best, but so good. If you had never seen or heard of War Horse, but you were familiar with all the other films of Steven Spielberg, and then somebody blindly just showed you War Horse and said, who directed this? You wouldn't necessarily think Steven Spielberg. If you watched Ready Player One, you would not say, oh, Steven Spielberg. I can tell Steven Spielberg directed this. If you watched The Paper, you wouldn't go, oh, yeah, Steven Spielberg directed this. If you watched Munich, you would not necessarily go, oh, yeah, Steven Spielberg directed this. However, I would contend and respectfully present that if you watched Hateful Eight, you might guess that Quentin Tarantino directed that. If you watched Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, you would go, I got a feeling Quentin Tarantino directed that. You know what I'm saying? And that is not necessarily a bad thing. It's just been the underlying thing of that it would be really cool to see some of these great directors really go outside of their regular sandbox and see if they could really do something like completely different for them. And yeah, just because Steven Spielberg, again, who is the goat of all goats, the king of kings, not everybody can do what he does. I'm just saying, when you get directors who are as good as Tarantino, who are as good as Nolan and stuff like that, it'd be really cool to be able to see them really flexing their directorial muscles by stepping out of their own DNA and doing something that just feels completely different from what would be one of their normal stories. Again, it's just be something I would like to see. That's all. I don't mean it as an overt criticism. It's just something that I would like to see. Something I'd like to see. Like somebody just said, where is it? Somebody just brought up Guy Ritchie in the live chat. Who I really like Guy Ritchie. But see, Guy Ritchie has done that. Who would have ever thought Guy Ritchie would do Aladdin? Who would have ever thought, even for a moment, that Aladdin was written by Guy or was directed by Guy Ritchie? Never in a million years. Never in a million years. And I would just like to see like a Tarantino or even a Christopher Nolan to do something like that, where they make another really good movie that none of us would ever have guessed that that was a Christopher Nolan film or that that was a Quentin Tarantino film. So anyway, there's that. All right. Let's see here. Next up. Oh my goodness. I think I just lost my spot again. Let me see if I can re-find it. Okay. I saw that. I saw that. I saw that. Oh, okay. I did that one. Okay, here we go. Next up. Al writes, which of these video game movie duologies do you prefer? Sonic, Mario, Mortal Kombat, Five Nights at Freddy's? Sonic, easily. I didn't really like Mario 2. I did not like the first Mortal Kombat, at least the one from 2021. And I haven't been a big fan of either of the Five Nights at Freddy's. Yeah, not a big fan of either of them. But I really like the first couple of Sonic movies. I really like them a lot. That's the only one out of that list I can say I really enjoyed both movies. All right. Enrique writes, thoughts on Wake Up Dead Man? Can't find your review. I don't think I did a review for it, but I have talked about it. I loved Wake Up Dead Man. Now, I think it might be my third favorite of the Knives Out trilogy. Like, I still think the original Knives Out is my favorite. I think Glass Onion is still my second favorite. And I think Wake Up Dead Man is my third. But don't misinterpret me putting it third as not really enjoying it. I loved it. And you know what else? It's definitively a Benoit Blanc film, but it felt very different than Glass Onion and Knives Out. And I appreciated that. So yeah, I really like Knives Out or Wake Up Dead Man. I thought it was great. All right. Mark Sipp writes, The network upfronts were last week. Those are the presentations. I remember them being a much bigger deal in terms of unveiling new TV shows. Is there some other event that has replaced them in terms of building hype for TV? Nah, because TV, trying to build up hype for TV is a different animal than, like, say, building up hype for a movie, because a movie is a singular one-shot kind of thing. I understand there's sequels and all that, but basically it's this one concentrated massive product that you're trying to get out there and launched right away and get everybody out. I don't really think they really have the same thing for television. Again, upfront is as close as it gets. But even then, each individual streamer, especially, it's changed a lot in the era of streaming, right? Each individual streamer will do their own thing. Like, I think Netflix has their Tadum thing, and I think Paramount's kind of been developing their own thing as well. So, yeah, anyway, there's that. All right. But they did announce a lot of pretty interesting stuff at the upfronts this year. Anyway, Enrique writes again, in your opinion, who is more influential overall and had a better filmography? Alfred Hitchcock or Stanley Kubrick? Alfred Hitchcock. And primarily because Hitchcock came first. Especially if you're going to throw in the term more influential. Like, the world that Stanley Kubrick came into and started directing in was a world that had already partially been shaped by Hitchcock. And, you know, it's funny, in our movie meetups, one of the first movie meetups we did last year was a screening of, which was it? Psycho, the original Psycho. And it was so amazing how many people at that movie meetup I talked to afterwards that had never seen it. Like, oh my God, like that's, you could see, if you watched Psycho for the first time, and by the way, there are a number of other Hitchcock films that fall into this category too, and you watch it for the first time, you get a Godfather experience. I've said this for a long time. When somebody watches The Godfather for the first time, it's almost like you can see the light bulb go in their head about how many hundreds of movies they've seen that have clearly, now that they've seen The Godfather, this light bulb goes out. Like, now they clearly see how many hundreds of movies they've watched that was obviously influenced by this movie. A lot of people that I saw Psycho with and the movie meetup, like, had that experience too. It's like you could totally see when you watch Psycho for the first time, you're like, oh my God, you can see like how much, like even just that movie, let alone all of Hitchcock's filmography, like influenced everything people saw. Kubrick's a master, make no mistake about it. But to answer that question, especially in terms of influential, I'm going to say Hitchcock. All right. Mark writes, you had mentioned the Silmarillion being seen as an unfilmable book. Have there been any seemingly unfilmable books that you ended up being turned into a decent movies or TV shows? I remember one. What was the name? I'm forgetting the name of it, but Storm Reed starred in it. It was Storm Reed, Oprah Winfrey, the girl from The Office. What was the name of that one? It was based on a novel, and everybody thought it was completely unfilmable. A Wrinkle in Time. Thank you. Cord Cutter. Cam was the first person to write that in. A Wrinkle in Time. Everybody considered that unfilmable. And I remember going to the world premiere. I was invited to the premiere. This is back when I still wasted my time with that stuff. But I went to the premiere, and the movie ended, and I immediately, normally when the movies end and I'm at a premiere, I'll mingle around and talk to a bunch of people. I just wanted to get out of the theater. So I go outside, and if I remember it right, I think it was Schnepp, John Schnepp, who was there with me, or he wasn't there with me, but he was there too, was outside. He had walked out. He goes, that movie was terrible. I'm like, yeah, that was not great. Like, I didn't think it was the worst movie I'd seen that year, but it was not great. And you could sort of see how they struggled making it. Now, as far as an example of one that for the longest time was just kind of considered truly unreally makeable, you got to think of Dune. I think we take for granted now that a little bit because we've seen what Denis Villeneuve has done with it. But I think a lot of people, but listen, that's not in the same realm as the Silmarillion. Like, not in the same realm. And I'm not saying it's impossible. You would have to do some pretty heavy lifting and some pretty heavy adaptation. It is possible, but that's going to be a challenging one, man. Like, if Peter Jackson decides to do the Silmarillion, it would be really challenging. You know what? I'm going to make this prediction right now. If Peter Jackson does do something with the Silmarillion, it will not be the book. It'll probably be one idea from the book or one section from the book. I'm not talking about making a Silmarillion trilogy. No. I mean, he'll take, whether it's the whole thing about the two trees or the creation of the Valar or whatever, he'll take a section of it or an idea from it or a concept from the Silmarillion and make a movie out of that. I don't think you can just straight up make a Silmarillion movie. I don't think it can be done. But one never knows, and I'm not going to shortchange the genius of one Peter Jackson. All right. Thanks for that, Mark. Next up, Ron H. writes, why, John, why don't you like the BBC Batman Beyond crew will always live? Because Batman Beyond sucks. And nobody cares about it. Now. That's a completely subjective opinion. I know several people who totally adore Batman Beyond. Absolutely they do. But nobody cares about Batman Beyond. They just don't. I remember posing this question, which was, if I go to an average movie theater on an average Saturday afternoon, and I set up a little table outside, and I ask average film goers as they're coming out of the movie theater, and I ask them, who is Batman? Not one of them is going to say Potterface McGillicuddy or whatever the name of Batman Beyond's character is. It's Terry something, right? Is it Terry McGinnis? Correct me if I'm wrong. Is that the name of the kid? Yes, Terry McGinnis. Okay. Spoon Fork McGillicuddy. Yes. And I ask average people coming out of the theater, who is Batman? They are all going to say Bruce Wayne. Do you deny it? Maybe 1% might say Spicklefork McGillicuddy. Maybe 1% of them might say it. So after I ask that question, who is Batman? And 98% of them all say Bruce Wayne. If I come back the next week to another average Saturday screening of an average movie with average goers there, and I set up my little table, and I sit at my little table saying survey, and average film people are coming out, and I ask, in the world of comic book connected fiction, who is Minkledoo McGillicuddy? Maybe 1% of the audience will say, oh, that's Batman Beyond. Maybe 4 or 5 people out of 500 will say, oh, Terry McGinnis, that's Batman Beyond. And here's the thing. If I was wrong about that, what is the most greedy industry in the world? Spoiler, it's the movie studios. Nobody is more greedy Trust their greed, man. Nobody's more greedy than the movie studios. If I wasn't right about that, these greedy sons of bitches would have made 5 Batman Beyond movies years ago. Years ago. Why haven't they? Because they do the field research. They do the studies. They do market research. And they just know no one's going to go see a Batman Beyond movie about some kid named Cleftfoot McGillicuddy who becomes Batman in some kind of pseudo-futuristic, Blade Runner kind of world, who isn't Bruce Wayne. But Bruce Wayne's in it. He's just an old guy, an old man now who's a guy in the chair. They know the average moviegoers are not going to go see that movie. Now, that being said, I think the potential for a Batman Beyond animated film took a big jump as a result of Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. I think the success of an animated Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse gave some credible life to the potential of a Batman Beyond animated film. I think there could be some potential. I don't know that it would be successful. I doubt that it would, but I do think there is the potential. And I think Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is responsible for that. So I think the chances today are greater than they've ever been that we could get a Batman Beyond animated film. But I've been saying for 10, 11, 12, 13 years that they're not going to make a Batman Beyond movie and a live action. They're not going to make a live action Batman Beyond movie. And every year people tell me I'm dead wrong. We're going to get one any day now. And I kept saying, no, we're not. And year after year after year after year after year, here we are. It's 2026. We still don't have a Batman Beyond movie. And that is taking nothing away from the people I know who enjoy the show. And if you enjoyed it, that's awesome. But it's just a cold, hard fact of reality. You can't make a live action movie out of that because people won't care. You put on something called Batman, they want to go see Batman. At least that's what I think. But an animated film, that could be a possibility today. And listen, maybe I'm right and maybe I'm wrong. But 13 years I've been saying this, and so far we still don't have a live action Batman Beyond movie. So I think the scales are kind of pointing to that I'm right, but I could be wrong. You never know. I love it when I find out that I'm wrong about something. Those are the best pleasant surprises, but I don't think I'm wrong about this. Hopefully I will be, but I don't think I am. Anyway. All right. Ron H. also writes, 5 times. That's like eating ketchup on eggs every time. Yeah, that I got to see Mandalorian in 5 times. Listen, what if we like Mandalorian and Grogu? Come on. Maybe we'll like it. Maybe it'll be really enjoyable. Hopefully it will be. Otherwise, yes, perhaps I would rather eat ketchup on eggs, which is not a favorite thing of mine. All right. Lord Zuko writes, 1 of 2. If an Indian mythological story were adapted into a movie and they race swapped roles as an Indian, I wouldn't be okay with it. Doesn't matter that it's fictional. I wouldn't be okay with it. It's a story about my people, by my people, and I think it's fair to feel the same way about Odyssey. No. I mean, it's fair that you feel that way, and that's perfectly fine. That you do, and I'm not taking away from the fact that you feel that way, but I don't agree. I don't agree at all. This is a totally fictitious story based in some historical accuracy. I wish I could remember the name of the guy. They just did this interview with the guy who's like this major Greek mythology professor. Like he's one of the world's foremost experts on Greek mythology and stuff like that. And he wrote this huge op-ed about why the casting in Odyssey is perfectly right and perfectly good. And I'm not going to pretend to be nearly as smart as him and try to explain it all. But, look, how do I put this? If the Odyssey isn't good, if the Odyssey isn't good, it's going to have nothing to do with Lupita Nyong'o playing a character or whatever. If it's not good, it's going to be because it wasn't good, and it wouldn't matter who you put in those roles. But I would also challenge, as my fellow film-loving brother, I would also challenge you that if the movie is good, for you to then reject, again, we're talking about if it's good, if it's not good, it's totally up to you. But I'm saying if the movie is good, and we don't know that it will be, but if it is, but you make the choice to reject the movie based on somebody playing a character whose skin color is different than the way you imagine the skin color of that character being, and that's your basis for rejecting the movie, may I, with great respect, submit that the issue then is you and not the movie. I mean, maybe the movie sucks. If the movie sucks, the movie sucks. And we go, well, that was terrible. Let's move on to the next movie. But if the movie is good, but you make the choice to reject it simply based on the pigmentation of the skin of a certain person playing a certain character, then again, I would encourage you to consider the possibility that the issue is not the movie. The issue is then you. So yeah, I would like to kind of throw that out there. And again, you are an individual, and movies are subjective, and you have the right to feel about anything the way you want to feel about it. But if you're going to write in a question to me and submit it to me to respond, that is my response. I'm not kicking in the door to your house to let you know what I think. If you want to write to me and ask me what I think about this, I'm going to give you my answer. And my answer is, actors play characters that they are not in real life. And the story of the Odyssey, while maybe having some roots in some historical accuracy, is a movie of mythology and fiction. And if what's really going to pull you out of this movie is the pigmentation of the skin color of a particular character who you have never seen, and I have never seen, because there are no photos, no video, no anything that we factually do or do not know about this character in a mythological fictional movie, then I would suggest the issue might be you. And again, I don't mean for that to come across. I say this to you as your film-loving brother. I don't mean that in any sort of kind of trying to trash you or come down on you. I just, you asked me, so I'm giving you my perspective on that. So there's that. All right. Next up, we go to Georgie, who writes, "Did you see Obsession?" Again, I have not. Again, my weekend has been absolutely packed pillar to post, but I'm very excited to see it, and I'm looking forward to seeing it, Georgie. Thank you for adding your name to the recommendations. All right, Georgie then writes, "Do you think Avengers Doomsday should have Odyssey like 5-minute prelude in movie theaters to give more story to Doom?" No, I don't. Like, here's kind of my perspective on this. And I've said this before, but like, well, I've heard it said like they have to do a post-credit scene in Spider-Man to set up Doom, because we've had nothing to set up Doom. We've got to introduce Doom before Doomsday, and we got to do this. And my response to that is, did they have any prelude or TV special or whatever to set up Hans before Why am I freezing on the Bruce Willis all time? I'm suddenly freezing on the name of the movie. Guys, you know the name of the movie I'm talking about. Did they have to do a Hans thing to first introduce him? Die Hard. Thank you, Joe. Why did I freeze on Die Hard? Joe, because I'm trying to think of 500 things at once. Did they need some kind of thing in a separate movie to set up Hans? How can we have Hans as this big villain in this movie, and how can he possibly work if we don't meet him first in something else? Did George Lucas have to make some kind of little thing first to introduce us to Darth Vader before Star Wars came out? Well, the smoke's going to clear after all the laters, and then Darth Vader's going to walk out, but no one's going to know who Darth Vader is, so it can't be effective. I think it was pretty damn effective. All of the great villains outside of comic book movies don't need something else first to introduce them before we get to the movie in which they're the villain of. Right? We didn't need a Hannibal Lecter prequel before Silence of the Lambs. We didn't need a little mini streaming special called The Jew Hunter before we had Inglourious Bastards to meet Christoph Waltz's character. We didn't need, a prequel of Samuel Jackson and Leonardo DiCaprio to set up and introduce them to the audience so that when we do have Django Unchained, then we don't need it. You don't need Doom popping up. And by the way, they already did have him kind of pop up in the post-credit scene of Fantastic Four, although that barely counts. But no, I contend you don't need anything to set up anybody before we get right into Doomsday. Any more than we needed a Killmonger setup before we had Black Panther. I really don't think we need it. I really don't. Now, do I think it would be a bad idea to set something up? Oh, it wouldn't necessarily be a bad idea, but I really don't think it's needed. And I think it'll be more effective in the movie. Before we get into it. Sorry, John, but the Bible didn't do a good job to introduce me to the devil. I need 5 prequel books. Yeah, again, so Georgie, I'm not saying it would be a bad idea. Not at all. They could do that, and it could be really cool, and we may all enjoy it. But I also don't think it's at all necessary. Because all the greatest, I think, villains of cinematic history all get introduced with the movie that they are the primary antagonist in. So I don't think they need to set it up. Anyway, that's just my opinion. Let's see. Lord Zuko is trying to continue on with the argument, saying, if it's an Indian mythological story, the cast needs to at least look Indian, in my opinion. And if it's a Greek mythological story, they need it to look Greek. No, not necessarily. I really don't agree with that. No, I think you're trying to compare apples to spaceships. And because I think if it's about, indigenous North American people, then you're really narrowing the focus. If you're just talking about Greek mythology and you're talking about the gods and you're talking about all that kind of stuff, I think there's more wiggle room there. I really do. All I care about, listen, the important thing about, say, Helen of Troy, is that she was a beauty that would start wars, right? And you guys know what I think. I have for years said Lupita Nyong'o is one of the male or female most gorgeous creatures to walk the face of the planet, male or female. And so you want to get somebody on screen who can has the kind of beauty that to me would go, oh, I would start a war over her. I'm sorry. And by the way, an Academy Award winner, And that's the key thing about who and what she is. And besides that, you can't pass off to me, well, the real heart of the story of the Odyssey is to be a story about Greek culture. That's not what the Odyssey is. That might be the setting, but that was never the thing. It's a very different thing if you're trying to compare that, which I think you're doing a major disservice if you're trying to compare that to like North American indigenous cultures. That's not the same thing. And so, no, I disagree. Again, I'm not trashing on you if that's how you see it. Not at all. I respect that if that's the way you see it, but it is not the way I see it. And you're not going to convince me otherwise. All right. Next up, Silent Ghost 2021 sends in a $20 super chat. Thank you for that, man. I appreciate that, dude. Writes in, oh yeah, by the way, I do also want to point out something else. And I have brought this up before, but J.R. Haley is bringing it up again. And again, I've mentioned this on the show before, but I should mention it again. According to the mythology, Helen of Troy is hatched from an egg. That's not Greek culture. Do we need to go out and find an actual actress that was hatched from an egg in order to play her? Just wondering, just throwing that out there. So this mythological being who was purportedly in the narrative and in the story, hatched from an egg. The important thing about her to the story that propels the story has nothing to do with the particular shade that her skin color is. Has nothing to do with it. And therefore, yeah. Because if you want to keep pushing that, then you got to say you have to find an actress that was hatched out of an egg. And I contend we might have a problem finding that. Anyway, back to the question from Silent Ghost, who writes, I graduated college last week with a criminal justice degree. Good for you, man. That's awesome. But would also like to work in the movie industry like you or own a theater. Oh, listen, my wife Ann has kind of had a little bit of a side dream of owning a movie theater someday. Anyway, would getting a master's in business administration be helpful in achieving these goals? Well, look, again, I'm not the world's foremost expert on this stuff, right? But it would seem to me that there would be a great number of advantages to having a master's degree in business administration. I just think there are a lot of applications for that. And particularly if you're going to try to run and operate a small business, then my totally unqualified, unexpert opinion of that would be, yeah, I can't imagine how that wouldn't be helpful. Again, I say this as a non-expert, but yeah, I would think that would be incredibly helpful. Does it guarantee success? Of course not. But could it be helpful? Yeah, absolutely. That could be helpful. If you do get to own a movie theater, man, you'd be living out one of our side dreams. I think that would be a lot of fun. I also think it would be incredibly difficult, but I think it would be a lot of fun. All right. Let's see. Ron H. writes, God is God this week. Looks crazy badass. I have talked to a couple of people that have seen it. Listen, I'll be honest with you. They showed us the first big previews for God is God last year at CinemaCon. Last year's CinemaCon. And I'll be honest, I didn't think it looked all that great. To be honest, I watched the presentation for it and I'm like, okay, maybe the movie will be wonderful, but this presentation isn't moving the needle for me. But I have talked to a couple of people who have seen it and they say it's great. They're telling me it's awesome. So I will definitely have to give it a shot. Again, I didn't think it looked all that interesting, but the people I've talked to who've seen it seem to really, really enjoy it, Ron. All right. Silent Ghost writes again, not sure if you can answer this, but can you share your opinions on if you think Michael Jackson did any of what the allegations say he did? Listen, opinions are assholes. We all have one. What I think is irrelevant. What I know is that he was never convicted of anything. And I've heard a lot of opposing stuff like, oh, John, but in this documentary, oh, but the stuff in that documentary was debunked. Oh, but like I can hear that all day. Listen, one of the things that I think is wrong with our pop culture right now is that not enough of us are willing just to say, look, to hell if I know. I don't know. I saw a YouTube video, so I'm an expert on this, and I can tell you that Michael Jackson was completely innocent. No, no, no. I saw a better YouTube video, and now I know for a fact that Michael Jackson did it. People just are not willing to go, look, I simply don't. I wasn't there, and I don't know. I don't know. That's why I leave it up to the courts. And if he actually did something, then he would probably have been convicted of something. That doesn't always happen. So the best thing for me to go is like, look, I don't know. Therefore, I simply rely on were they found guilty in a court case, was anything like that, and I just go with that. Because what I think otherwise is simply based on imperfect prejudicial hearsay that I don't know. So I am never going to bang the drum to proclaim Michael Jackson's innocence, but nor will I ever bang the drum to proclaim his guilt, because the reality is he was never found guilty of anything, and I simply don't know. So I'm just going to go, like when it comes to a movie like Michael, I'm just going to go see the movie and say if I thought it was a good movie or not. I liked it. So everything else I'll leave up to people of much higher pay grades than myself. All right. Let's see. Next up, we've got Joe Adonis T. Well, somebody's now saying, well, what about OJ? Well, OJ, while he was cleared in the criminal conviction, don't forget in the civil cases, he was found liable. He got acquitted on the criminal cases, but then when it went to civil trial, a jury of his peers said, yes, it is more than likely that you are responsible for the death of those people. Again, that never happened with Michael Jackson. So it's you can't compare it. You can't compare it. Anyway, next up, Joe Adonis writes, 1, hi, John. Know you're very excited for Nolan's Odyssey. I am. But did you know that there is also another Odyssey project coming from Jerry Bruckheimer? Well, there have been others as well, called Epic, an animated retelling of the Odyssey. I can't remember if I heard that or not. It started from a concept album by Jorge Rivera Hernandez, blending pop, musical theater, and anime influences, which blew up on TikTok. The songs are bangers, and the project looks promising. You know what? It sounds a little familiar, but I don't really recall hearing about that. Honestly, the best telling of the Odyssey to me is "O Brother, Where Art Thou?" That's been my favorite kind of telling of the Odyssey so far. Now I will wait patiently for somebody to tell me why the Odyssey was a travesty, because it was set in Depression times America and it wasn't Greeks. Go ahead. Hate on for that. But anyway, I really liked "O Brother, Where Art Thou?" a ton. And there have been others. So I'm not surprised. But again, I've not heard about this one, Joe Adonis. So thank you for putting that on my radar. I appreciate that, man. All right. Next up, we've got Silent Ghost, who writes, do you think the sequel trilogy would have been better or worse if George didn't sell Lucasfilm and wrote them? I think the prequels are underrated. Okay. And that's great. I think the prequels are all complete dog shit gutter trash. So no, I don't think the sequels would have been better if George had written and directed them. I don't. I think I think with all due respect, again, I'll always have a place in my home and in my heart, and I will always have a little altar burning incense to the glory of George Lucas for the rest of my life. But I also think he lost touch with his own creation, with the gutter trash that were the prequels. Force Awakens is far better than any of the prequels. You asked me, so I'm going to give you my answer. I even think as hit and miss as it was, I even think the Rise of Skywalker, not the Rise of Skywalker, sorry, The Last Jedi. I even think The Last Jedi was better than any of the prequels. you might be able to convince me that Revenge of the Sith is better than The Rise of Skywalker. Actually, no, you don't even have to convince me. I'll concede that The Revenge of the Sith is better than The Rise of Skywalker because The Rise of Skywalker was just that bad. I mean, I made an entire 45-minute video about dissecting everything wrong with the and I never do that. I never do that. I have never done that. It is the only time that I've ever like dedicated like a full like almost hour-long editorial simply as to why a particular movie was terrible. But I did that once for The Rise of Skywalker because it was really bad. But no, I really don't think so. I really don't think it would have been any better. I don't think we ever would have gotten Rogue One, which is clearly better than anything George Lucas ever did after the original trilogy. Andor, which is the best thing, anything Star Wars ever other than the original trilogy. So, was the sequel trilogy a smash success? Well, at the box office, yes, but no. But do I think the sequel trilogy would have been better overall had George Lucas done them? No, because he did the prequels. And while I think Revenge of the Sith is better than The Rise of Skywalker, I think overall the sequel trilogy, with all of its weaknesses, is better than the prequel trilogy. But again, that your mileage may vary. That depends on your own personal subjective opinion of it. But since you asked me, that's my take on it. All right. Next up, let's see here. Phoenix writes, you may have missed it because you've mentioned the response being light, but the reason they played the Doomsday trailer again at Comic-Con was that there was a huge group literally chanting, "Play it again." Oh, no, no, there was not. I was there in the room. There was no group of people chanting, "Play it again." That is not true. Whoever's telling you that is telling you a lie. I was there in the room. There was no big group of people chanting, "Play it again." This is exactly what Marvel has done at other presentations where they've dropped a new trailer. They drop the trailer, then they come out on stage and go, "Do you want to see it again?" And by the way, when they first came, because again, I thought the trailer was really good. I really liked the trailer. But I think they forgot that what they had was not a room of fans. They had a room full of executives and movie theater owners and people who worked in the industry. So when they came back out on stage, and remember, I'm somebody who really liked the trailer. I liked it a lot. But when, Kevin Feige and the Russos came back out on stage, just, "You want to see it again?" They did not get the response you would have gotten at, say, Comic-Con. There wasn't this big, "Yeah!" Like there was, "Come on, guys." They had to do it again. It's like, "Come on, guys, do you want to see it again?" And then, the cheers and that. But no. I don't know who told you or where you read that in the room at CinemaCon, in that auditorium, that when the Avengers Doomsday trailer ended, that there was this big chant of "Play it again, play." No, there was not. There was 100% not. That is something we would have heard, and I can assure you that did not happen. Anyway, so there we go. All right, next up. Phoenix sends in a $20 super chat. Thank you, Phoenix, for supporting us on that level, man. And he writes, "I managed to get front row for the WB panel, and when they played Dune, Denis and company sat in the seats next to us, and the actors hadn't seen it, so I got to watch their first reactions seeing it. Craziest experience from life." Okay, so you're saying you were in the room. Phoenix, I don't know if there was one single person sitting behind you going, "I hope they play it again." I don't know, maybe if you were just half drunk, my friend. But there was no big chance of play it again, and that is not why they played it again. This was a standard common playbook for Marvel. They've done this a number of times where they played a trailer and then came back out and said, "Do you want to see the trailer again?" The standard thing that. Now, cool Denis Villeneuve story. When we were at CinemaCon, I wasn't there, but I met up with Rob. And Rob said, "Dude, I just met Denis Villeneuve." I met Denis Villeneuve at a John Williams concert once, but Rob was like, I just met Denis Villeneuve. This was at CinemaCon this year. He said, I was walking by that restaurant that we go to all the time, and he was just sitting there. So I went up to say hi. I said, that's cool. And he says, and then I told Cody, and Cody was like, where? And I told him where. And Cody just left to go meet him too. And Cody came back and said, Denis Villeneuve hugged me. And it's like, coolest story. That would have been an awesome experience to sit there with Denis Villeneuve. That would have been awesome. I would have been pretty excited about this. And yes, the EBT, that was at the Hollywood Bowl. It was actually at the Hollywood Bowl. It was at one of the John Williams concerts. And they did an intermission, and I decided I was going to run and use the bathroom. And as I'm walking towards the bathroom, Denis Villeneuve is coming out of the bathroom. I'm like, Mr. Villeneuve, bonjour, je m'appelle Jean. I'm Canadian, and I'm a third bit movie YouTuber. I just want to tell you, you are like one of my absolute favorite filmmakers in the world. I love your work, blah, blah. And we talked for a second, and then I let him get back to his seat, and I had to pee, and I went in to pee. But yes, that was at the Hollywood Bowl at a John Williams concert. Anyway, that would have been an amazing experience for me. So to sit there with Denis Villeneuve while that's going on screen, that's a bucket list kind of thing, I think. All right. Next up. Oh, final question of the day comes to us from Enrique, who writes, how do you rank Aaron Sorkin's 3 directed films, Chicago 7, Molly's Game, Being the Ricardos? I still wish Fincher returned for Social Network 2. By the way, remember, it's not really, The Social Reckoning is not, and I didn't understand this either until they showed us the presentation for it at CinemaCon. The Social Reckoning is not really the Social Network 2. It's really not. It's hard to explain why until you see the trailers for yourself, but I'll just leave that at that. First of all, I really like all 3 of these movies. Molly's Game, Chicago 7, Being the Ricardos. By the way, Being the Ricardos was tragically overlooked. I thought it was a really good movie. I would rank them as such. Number 3, I would say Being the Ricardos. And I really liked it. Number 2, Chicago 7, remarkable. And number 1 for me, Molly's Game. I thought Molly's Game should have gotten more Oscar attention, to be honest with you. I loved that movie. I thought it was brilliant. I really did. I thought Molly's Game was absolutely brilliant. So I like all 3 of them for sure, but I would put Molly's Game at number 1. All right. Holy crap, guys. This has been like nearly 2.5 hours, but I'll tell you what I'm going to do. If you are just in the live chat and have a question for me, look at what I just put in the live chat. If you've got a question for me, just type @ and on all capital letters question. And I'm not going to answer all of them. I'm just going to cherry pick a couple, and I'll answer just a couple, and then we'll wrap things up here. Let's see. Josh says, question, thoughts on this. I don't like going to the movies anymore because 95% of the times I go, there's rude people. Listen, I cannot speak to your experience. All I can do is tell you mine. And my experience is less than 5% that I go to the movies is there somebody who's like distractingly rude. Less than 5%. And I'm somebody who goes to the movie theater hundreds of times a year. Or at least well over 100 times a year. And yeah, for me, and I've gone in Canada, in big cities in the US, all that kind of stuff. And all I can say is maybe 2 or 3% of the time do I encounter people who are distractingly rude. My question for you, Josh, would be, where is your movie theater that like 95% of the time that you go to the movie theater, there's like distractingly rude people? I have just not had that. And I've been to a lot of movie theaters, but again, I can't speak to your experience. I can only speak to mine. Let's see. The EBT writes, what are you looking forward to most about Comic-Con this year? I'm not even 100% sure I'm going to go to Comic-Con this year. But what would I be looking forward to coming out of Comic-Con? I think it would have to be X-Men casting. That's what I think we're going to get, X-Men casting at Comic-Con. I don't know that for sure. Like, nobody's told me that. That's just me guessing. But I think that would probably be the thing I would be most interested in hearing coming out of Comic-Con, is if we get actual X-Men casting. I think that would be neat. All right. Let's see here. Diego writes, question, seeing how Mortal Kombat 2 has been doing at the box office, do you think Warner Brothers moving the film from October to May was the right move? I don't think it had anything to do with it. I don't think it helped it. I don't think it hurt it. I think Mortal Kombat is doing exactly what it would have done in October. I mean, we'll never know. I might be wrong about that, 100%. But I really don't think it would have done any better or any worse had it come out in October. So, I mean, I don't really see why they moved it. I don't understand the logic behind moving it, but whatever. Do I think it made any difference? I don't personally think it made any difference. So yeah, I don't think it's made any difference. All right. Let's see. Louis is writing, over under 15%, they make Mandalorian season 4 after the Mandalorian film. 15%'s the right number. That's the line to set. Because I definitely think it's under 25%. But I think it's over 5%. So 15% is exactly where that line should be. I'm going to say under. Not 0, but my kind of best guess is that it'll be under 15% that they make a Mandalorian season 4. I don't think they will. Again, I could be wrong, but I don't think they will. All right. Let's see here. I'll take one more. Silent Ghost saying, is Ann wondering where you are due to the stream length? Yes, I told her at most I'd be going till 6 o'clock. So she's probably, it's already 6:30. So she's probably wondering where I am. All right. Last one. Let's see. Oh, Rick is saying, did I ever watch the last season of Foundation? No. And I love Foundation. It is very difficult for me to keep up with with television because there's so many shows I like and so many shows I want to watch. But there are a couple of shows that I really love that I'm not caught up on their latest seasons of yet. And for instance, one of them is why am I freezing the name of Fallout? I still haven't watched season 2 of Fallout. I still haven't watched season 2 of One Piece. And I really like season 1. And I have not seen the latest season of Foundation, despite the fact that I freaking love that show. And I have not gotten on there. All right. I said that was the last one. Well, let's take this one because this one's interesting. When an actor passes away, does SAG allow a new actor to use that name, or is it locked forever? You cannot lock somebody out of their actual name. You can't lock somebody out of their name. You just can't. If somebody somewhere out there has the family name Hanks and their family just decides to name the kid Tom when he's born, you can't tell somebody they can't use their legal name. Can't do it. So no. Now, what would be another interesting question is oftentimes actors will use a screen name that is different from their actual name. That's not terribly unusual. Would SAG stop somebody from using a screen name that is not their actual name? So like, if my name is John Campea, if I suddenly decide to get into acting, but I wanted to go by Al Pacino. Yeah, my name's John Campea, but I go by the screen name Al Pacino. SAG, I don't know if SAG could have an issue with that, or if they would have a legal a legal precedent or recourse to stop you from using that. I don't know if they would, but I definitely know this. If I was born with the name Alfonso Pacino and my name is Al Pacino, SAG could absolutely do nothing about me using the name Al Pacino because that's my name. But could you use a made-up screen name that somebody else already has? That's a good question. I don't know what's in their bylaws about that. I'm curious. I'm going to look into that because I think that would be an interesting question, though. All right, guys. And that will do it for today's installment of Open Mic. Thank you so much for being here. And guys, on this Sunday afternoon and joining me for this little doo-ha as we talk about movies and stuff like that. We're all just moving fans sharing our own different opinions of things. I'm sure there are many things I said today that you don't agree with. And I'm sure there are many things that you thought that I wouldn't agree with. But that's the fun of being movie fans and getting to have these conversations together. So thank you so much for being here and making this a part of your day. Looking forward to doing the John Campea show tomorrow. Of course, it'll be me, Jonathan, Rob will be in here. We're looking forward to seeing you guys as well. So that'll do it for me, guys. Thank you so much for being here. My name is John Campea, and until next time, my friends, bye-bye.